All right, so in this presentation, we're going to cover 1900 to the present, science, and the environment. So, rapid advances in science altered the understanding of the universe and the natural world, and it led to the development of new technologies, which none of this should sound absolutely insane to you guys because, I mean, obviously, you've lived through crazy rapid advances in science. These changes have enabled unprecedented population growth, which altered how humans interacted with the environment, and it also disrupted delicate ecological balances at local, regional, and global levels. Researchers were able to make rapid advances in science that then spread throughout the world, assisted by the development of new technology. So you've got like the airplane, the phone, the car, you've got new modes of transportation and communication, reducing the problem of geographic distance. I mean, I can hop a flight today from DC and go to London in about 6 hours, which before that would have taken months on a ship. The Green Revolution produced food for the Earth's growing population as it spread chemically and genetically enhanced forms of agriculture. This was used as the 2011 DBQ topic, so it has come up on the AP exam in the past. Uh, so you've got an increase in food production, largely wheat and cereal grains, so like millet, maize, stuff like that. And it was able to help populations in Asia and South America, not so much for Africa because it was not economically feasible to bring a lot of the green revolution technologies to Africa. Um, but you also have the debate growing over chemically and genetically enhanced forms of agriculture. So that's still a raging debate that we still experience today. You have medical innovations, increasing the ability of humans to survive and live longer lives, which we absolutely see and benefit from. The polio vaccine was developed in 1955 by Jonas Salk. Antibiotics were created and they help keep all of us healthy. The artificial heart, the first artificial heart was successfully implanted in a human in 1982, which is incredible to think of. And now they're starting to 3D print portions of hearts and entire hearts and seeing if they're working. So it's incredible how much we have been able to advance in not even 40 years. New energy technologies, including the use of petroleum and nuclear power, raised productivity and it increased the production of material goods. So you can see petroleum powered plants as well as nuclear powered ships, and that's a nuclear power plant on the bottom right. So you do see an increase in the production abilities thanks to these new forms of fuel. During a period of unprecedented global population expansion, humans fundamentally changed their relationship with the environment. So, human activity has contributed to deforestation, which we've seen in previous periods, as well as desertification. But we've never seen it to this level. We've also increased our consumption of the world's supply of fresh water and clean air. And humans have continued to compete for these resources more intensely than ever before. So you've got rates of extinction of species accelerating very sharply. Even in the last 100 years, it's been incredible the amount of species that have been extinct. You can see mining and its damages in the bottom left. You can see an oil rig on fire in the middle. And you can see uh, the Gulf states and fighting that has occurred over oil areas, especially in the desert areas of the Gulf states. Um, so we have drastically impacted our environment, and we have yet to see the full effects. You have the release of greenhouse gases and other pollutants into the atmosphere, contributing to debates about the nature and causes of climate change, which that shouldn't be news to you either. I'm sure you see it actually in the news on a regular basis. Um, I mean, even think back to the Olympics in Beijing a few years ago. You saw the smog as thick as it was. You see that especially in developing nations like China, India, and increased pollution there. There's a natural greenhouse effect that exists, but scientists believe that there was a human enhanced greenhouse effect because we are putting off a lot more heat than just naturally occurs. You have disease, scientific innovations, and conflict leading to demographic shift. So you've got diseases associated with poverty like malaria, cholera, tuberculosis, and they're largely associated with poverty due to lack of healthcare. They persisted. While other diseases emerged as new epidemics, you got the 1918 flu, which killed a large amount of the population. HIV and AIDS, also killing a large amount of the population. Ebola becoming an epidemic. You also have threats to human survival because of these. In addition, you've got changing lifestyles. So you have diabetes becoming a problem, heart disease becoming a major problem, Alzheimer's disease, and you got increased longevity, leading to a higher incidence of certain diseases. You largely see Alzheimer's at later stages of life, whereas you didn't necessarily have that life expectancy 200 years ago. So you can see diseases, the 1918 flu outbreak in the United States. The middle map is people living with HIV and AIDS throughout the world. Ebola outbreaks. You've got lifestyle changes, the darker shades for Alzheimer's on the left, in the middle, darker shades for higher rates of diabetes, and heart disease are higher rates in the dark. And then poverty. In malaria endemic countries, you can see that they're more likely to be involved in poverty. They're less likely to have access to affordable health care. You see cholera on the middle map, which also corresponds largely with the malaria map. And tuberculosis, same thing. It's affordable, easily accessible healthcare. You also have birth control. More effective forms of birth control gave women greater control over their fertility, and it also transformed sexual practices throughout the world. You see reduced birth rates in many countries because of access to birth control. Improved military technology like tanks, airplanes, and the atomic bomb were created in this period, and you also have new tactics like trench warfare and firebombing. We saw the atomic bomb in World War II. We saw increased use of tanks and airplanes in World War II. Also, the new tactics like trench warfare, World War I, firebombing, World War I, World War II. It led to increased levels of wartime casualties. Nanjing as an example, it was the mass murder and mass rape committed by Japanese troops against the residents of Nanjing, which was the then capital of China, during the Second Sino-Japanese War, December 1937 to January 1938. This was while Japan was stretching its imperialist legs. In Dresden, you had the British-American aerial bombing attack on the city of Dresden, Germany during World War II. It lasted from February 13th to the 15th in 1945, and an estimated 22,700 to 25,000 people died. It destroyed over 1,600 acres of city. And then Hiroshima. Nuclear weapons were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 to bring an end to the Second World War.